guys, so I wanted to share with you off the back of one of my previous videos, giving you some tips into the basics of a cyclist training plan. I wanted to get into today some of my favourite cycling indoor workouts. Obviously we now are somewhat restricted to indoors, but some indoor workouts that can aid your climbing, they aid my climbing, they aid some of the people that I coach as well. And I hope you can get a lot out of these. We're partnering up with Bynea Climbers to bring you this video. It only seems fitting that we can do climbing workouts with the Bynea Climbers. These will aid your climbing as well as your overall fitness. So what I find is we can all ride at a sustainable hard pace. I think lots of us are capable of riding as hard as we can go for 20 minutes, as hard as we can go for 40 minutes, as hard as we can go for an hour. But it really starts to change when we add dynamics into that. So when we start to ride above and below threshold. So this is what brings me on to my top 3 indoor cycling workouts. My top 3 that I find can really help improve your fitness and your climbing. I'd love for you to try one of these workouts, whether you try the actual workout or whether you try a shortened version of it. It doesn't really matter, but if you can tag Bynea Climbers on social media or hashtag #BOK@home, then that'll be really good. And make sure as well that you join their club on Strava, because they're always posting great images of massive climbs. If you love climbing, I mean, who doesn't? If you don't love the climbs, you definitely love the descents, right? And share them on Strava, on social media. Let us know how you get on. Okay, so the first workout that I really enjoy doing, and a lot of the riders that I coach as well through Peloton coaching, is the Superman's Cape session. And the reason why we called it Superman's Cape is because the actual session is full of over and unders, and on the graph, as you'll see below, it very much looks like a rippling cape through the wind. Whilst the off element isn't actually recovery, so you're still somewhat working. Usually it's upper zone 1, lower zone 2. You'll actually find that the hardest part of the workout is probably over the halfway mark, because your heart rate has had time to rise and somewhat settle then. And the great thing about this workout is, because you're going on for 60 seconds and off for 30 seconds, you're obviously working very, very hard for 60 seconds, but those 30 seconds, your heart rate doesn't really drop much. And when it doesn't drop much, it has this effect of you still working at that 60-second intensity, but without actually riding at it. So you can make this interval session more manageable by cutting it half right down the middle, separating the blocks, and putting a little 10-minute recovery block in between. So in no particular order, but my second favorite or top session is the zone 3 or sweet spot or threshold over and unders. It depends which one you want to go for, because like I say, you can go for 3 different ranges. Usually I go for sweet spot. Now, the idea behind this workout is you're riding for sweet spot for a steady state interval, and then at the end of it, you go straight into a very small, short set of over and unders. As you can probably tell, I like over and unders. So you work in 2 different pathways in effect. You work in this threshold pathway or sub-threshold pathway, and then you work in this over and under pathway where you're able to perform at your functional capacity. So that capacity that you're able to sustain over threshold, how long are you able to sustain, over threshold for? And you're bolting that on to the end of a steady state effort. Something that we don't usually do when we're out riding. Usually we ride at steady state, but then we never really have this over and under at the end. We usually have an over, but we don't usually have an under. So make this more manageable by reducing the intensity of that first block. So you can ride it at zone 3 if you want to, and then if need be, alter the duration of the over and unders at the end. So you could do 20-40s, you could do 30-30s, you could do 40-20s, you could do 50-10s, you can do anything. So last but no means least, number 3 is probably the cruelest session that I've ever done, and I've only ever done it when I've really wanted to hurt myself, and I've really wanted to make sure that I want to get a good session. Now I must stress, this session you'd probably need good recovery for beforehand, maybe take a rest day, maybe even 2 rest days to make sure you're fresh enough to do it, because it's going to take a lot out of you. If you're doing the whole workout as it is, it equates to over 40 minutes at over threshold, which is not to be snuffed at at all. It's important here now not to get bogged down in the numbers, because this session is more of like an old school session. A lot of you will appreciate that, I gather, but the idea is that you're here to hurt yourself. And something that we don't often do, because usually we do get bogged down in the numbers and we do end up doing a lot of sessions where, you know, we're working to prescribe wattages. You must do this, you must do this. But it's not very often that we say, right, this session, we're gonna empty the tank. We're gonna leave everything on the road. We don't do it very often, and there's a good reason for doing that. But with this session, you wanna be smart in how you do that. If you're doing the full 8 minutes, and they're hurting for the 8 minutes, you'll naturally find your rhythm. So power numbers obviously become obsolete. So long as you're working over threshold, that's all that really matters with these blocks. If you really want to spice these up, do them on a climb. They make them unbearably tough because of the constant gradient changes. If you want to make them more manageable, instead of doing 8 minute blocks, you can do 4 or 5 minute blocks and work your way up. Or you can just do less intervals. So you could do 3 instead of the 5. Or you could have longer recovery between those blocks. It's really up to you. So guys, I really hope you enjoyed this one. It's a pleasure for me to make it and to help you in some way. I know we got lots of great feedback from the last one. This one, thank you Bynea Climbers for helping me out on it. I really want to do this because when we get back out on the road eventually properly, in a month, 2 months, 3 months time, whenever that is, we all want to be climbing better, we all want to be going better. And if this helps in some way to do that, then that's a great tick for me. But remember, if you do them, we would love to hear from you. We'd love to see your workout sessions, your puddle of sweat, your soaked jersey, whatever it is. Send us a photo, tag us on social media, me, Bynea Climbers, using the hashtag BOKATHOME. And don't forget to join the Strava club. I'm very active over on Strava, so are Bynea Climbers as well. They post some great pictures over on there. And make sure to check us out. I'll see you in the next one.